call a minute and then we'll get started.
How do I, okay, there we go.
Sorry, it's traditional,
Sorry.
old school, not a
I'm
touch
on,
screen.
yeah.
Oh, it's expensive.
Oh my God, I'm on the screen, like, I missed that, I'm scrolling.
I checked this forever, actually. And then this is just the packet.
Okay,
'Cause I feel like so we're not all scared staring at the TV.
perfect. Thank you, Tom.
How do I make it go up?
Available.
Oh, are there 2 cups? No.
Oh, it's starting.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, take that one.
Yeah, some drops.
Yeah, I think we can attach the minutes to the packet.
Okay.
You have, I know, because Tomas does them in advance, so they're ready. Right. I feel like, yeah, if you want to do that and just kind of have like a draft watermark over.
Yeah, yeah, I've never had any. Yeah, just like historically, that's just me doing.
Council does it that way too.
Right, I heard. Okay, yeah, that works with me.
Yeah. Might change.
Yeah.
And then that way you're not, what you post on the website and when you email is basically gonna be the same.
Right.
Same thing. It makes it easier.
Is that what we were talking about regarding the minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we ready? Okay. We're gonna call the March meeting of the Complete Street and Safety Committee to order at 6:21 p.m. We're at the City Hall Annex today. I don't think we have anyone online. We have one attendee in person. Roll call. Vice Chair Briscoe.
Here.
Committee Member Cabrera.
Here.
Chair Warwick here, and Lou is absent. May I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, motion by Cabrera and second by Briscoe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any general public comment regarding things we discussed? Anyone online?
Check my email and the one in the Zoom.
No one in Zoom? Any public comment from? No? Okay. All right. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from the February 12th, 2026 meeting?
Motion.
Any second?
I'm second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, old business, we have none. New business, we just start from the top. Review and finalize the 2026 draft work plan. You'll see that was attached to the materials that Tomas sent out. So our first point is finalizing the recommendation to address speeding and overall traffic safety issues on visitation, and of course, continuing to evaluate traffic and safety improvements along Viz and San Bruno. That carried over from 2025. So we're going to leave that on the top until that can get checked off, and hopefully after today it will get checked off because it will be on to the city council and we will be done with at least the visitation part of it. Part 2 of the 2026 work plan is our Cycle 5 San Mateo County Office of Ed School Travel Fellowship to evaluate and recommend safety improvements and plans for Brisbane Elementary School that advances safe routes to school program goals. Maz, Tomas, myself, Sean Higgins, the principal at BES, all sat in on an in-person workshop a week ago. And then we had another group meeting with the liaisons through the county's safe routes to school, as well as their design to team, Alta, Kristen, and then Matt Bigger as well. And so that's already in process. We've got a deadline for, what is it, September 27th is the last 10 to 4th, 27th is the last meeting of that for cycle 5. I think we're off to the races for sure, but we're definitely off to a good start. We got a lot of good dates set already. Do we want to share about that or just leave it as?
I can give a quick highlight. Since it's on, since we're talking about it, just quick highlight. You shared the QR code that's going to go to the parents for a parent survey. So this is an interesting program. It's the County Office of Education. And if you think about like the 5 corners where we have the bollards, the plastic delineators in the intersection, those kind of soft improvements or quick build improvements is what the goal of this grant program is. And it focuses a lot on outreach and community engagement with the schools, with parents, with people in the neighborhood. And so this is the first time the city's done this. This program's been around for about 5 years for the County Office of Education. as a chair, as our chair shared, they have, we have a kind of a tight timeline. So we already met once, twice actually. And the goal is before the next school year, have the soft improvements installed. And then where that leaves us is, with all this engagement, all the volunteer efforts, everybody involved, it helps us all get set up for permanent improvements through other grant sources, or if not through grants, then through other funding opportunities. So the idea is you kind of get this engagement, you get an improvement, see how it works out in reality, and then you can either tweak it, or if we feel like that's a good, whatever we end up with is a good approach, finalize it, formalize it, and then we can apply next year to deal with another issue, either within the same school or another school. It's open. A lot of the other cities that are involved in groups, a lot of them will repeat. They've done this a couple of years already, if not more. So it was good.
Yeah.
We will definitely be, a lot more information will be coming through. We'll give updates on this committee, but there's also going to be a lot of blasts out with this moving forward.
So you're targeting both school BS and Midland?
This one's specifically focused on BES. And so the idea is we've had a lot of concerns with respect to the vehicle speeds on San Bruno, and then Glen Parkway is a little bit, challenging too with school pickup and drop off. And it's not just here, there's been multiple community members that have commented on that. So that's why we decided to focus on that one for this round. But we can look at Lippman and other school routes in the future.
The other thing, the prior committee members, they worked a lot and they developed safe routes. And they have these little medallions on the road, which are pretty cool. But often, you can't see them. And also, I think routinely they will send a blast saying, hey, remember about the safe route. So it would be good to incorporate the safe route into this conversation. Because especially in Brisbane, a lot of the streets don't have normal sidewalks. So you have cars in some streets, like in Mariposa, a lot of the restaurants park on the sidewalk. So it's hard for the kids to walk. So they have the other street, which has sidewalks and everything. So just to incorporate the safe route would be good, and maybe do some sort of different way of showing it, not just that medallion on the sidewalk, because it could be easily. So that'll be my comment.
I'm curious, are we commenting on
Yeah,
these items?
what we're gonna do is we're gonna decide if we're gonna approve this as our work plan for.
But I meant,
submit to the city.
so we're not coming back. I mean, we were supposed to comment when we were on number one if we had comments.
I explained a little bit more on number two. I think if you want to go through the list and then we can discuss in greater
Sure.
detail,
Sure.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well,
okay.
let me just
So sorry about that.
No, that's
No.
okay. Number 3 on the list is to evaluate commercial truck circulation patterns and identify opportunities for improvement for freight mobility and safety. That really stemmed from our conversation about Park Lane. Then 4, conduct a citywide audit of sidewalk conditions and needs, crosswalk conditions and tree-related site obstructions and so forth. And then 5, conduct a citywide safety and infrastructure review of bicycle routes. 6, evaluate wayfinding signage for effectiveness and identifying locations for additions, incorporating input from the Public Art Advisory Committee. So that is our work plan for 2026. I think even like 6 kind of touches on what you're talking about, like making sure the signage is right for
Yeah.
the little safe,
Okay.
the medallions. If creating wayfinding could be incorporated into that. Also the additional issue of like kids can't go up Mariposa because cars are parked on the sidewalk, right? Or for example, on Sonoma, the sidewalk got turned into parking. So, that could be part of our audit of sidewalk conditions and crosswalks and just seeing if there's needing to have more conversations around that. And that's citywide. That's not just on the way to school.
And having it by category, it makes sense, I think, because even from the perspective of dealing with the contractors, if you have one contractor that you're talking to about signage, and you get them engaged of the different signage and what's needed, and just give the conversation. Because for signage, we also have a whole bunch of alleyways, which are easy to walk, but you don't know they're there. Some of them are like hidden.
Right, okay.
So overall questions, concerns. It's not, I think in our meeting with Colleen and Frank, our liaisons, it wasn't like we felt we're gonna get through everything in 2026. If we do, great. But if we don't, we want to just keep these things going and moving in the right direction. So,
So with that said, um, on number one, um, when we were talking about the traffic calming, ways of dealing with, speeding and the way the traffic is on visitation, um, the cost of the, um, intersection, speed hump
Mhm.
was excessive, like $200,000 by the time he did that, and the changes to the storm drainage and the improvements to those improvements. Um, I thought if there was like a grant that would do that work, that's that would be, uh could be an ideal situation, especially like on San Bruno Avenue and Alvarado. But I really do think the stop signs, which were what, $1,000 each to install, um, at each street on visitation, and visitation in Mariposa is a real, concern for people that are coming down and want to turn, and a lot of people would go that way if there was a stop sign as opposed to going down Inyo, which is a concern for the people on Inyo with the traffic. And one of the things I brought up at the last meeting was that at a certain time of the day, you can't see people backing out of their parking spots with the sunlight hitting the back of the cars. A lot of the lights, most of the lights look like they're backup lights sometimes. And so I thought the stop signs coming down, at, Mendocino and then Mariposa, that would be, you know, 4 stop signs for $4,000, could, create a environment to where the speeds would be reduced, I'm sure considerably. And so many times, the daylighting thing isn't really working. And even if there were red curbs, a lot of the time they wouldn't be. Uh, uh, People wouldn't abide by it, especially the delivery trucks. And so I think a stop signs would be probably one of the best, immediate traffic calming, um,
measures.
measures.
And if you remember from our last meeting,
Yeah,
Tomas and Maz were gonna do a test on that, right? And
right.
so they've already started,
Yeah,
and
I
they can
can-
fill us in on that.
Well, I was gonna say, if
But-
with respect to visitation, we do have our next item, which is to finalize the proposal to city council. So if we want, we can have a more robust discussion on
The
that
next
item
one, yeah,
that's coming
Well-
up next.
Well, I thought finalizing with them was this is a estimate cost for these improvements. And I thought that's what you're presenting to the council, are these improvements and not stop signs,
right.
is what I was getting
But
at.
what
Right,
Maz
but-
is saying is,
Oh,
what
yeah.
you're talking about right now is our next item on our agenda. Right now, what we're just doing is, are we approving these 6 items?
If
as
you're
our work
comfortable
plan?
with that,
Oh,
being
oh,
one of the
oh.
work plans, then
No, no,
we're good.
I
Well, we can definitely dig into the specifics of that item.
no, I understand. I
Gotcha.
see that.
There's a draft. Like in the next
Yeah.
page, like a whole draft.
Well, I read the draft, and
Right.
and at the end, it talked about how these were just these costs weren't, they were estimates.
Yeah.
So, let's
Okay.
hold that robust part of the
I got you.
conversation for the next
I
item.
got you.
So going back to the working plan, I think having it in the categories the way you have it, it's super useful. I was just wondering if we could incorporate some bullet points, just to put a little more.
Like
Yeah,
like.
Like explain it out better.
yeah. For instance, on the signage, to say, safe route battalion to do some other kinds, to complement that signage. Also, the bicycle routes. I know we have a master plan that talks a lot about bicycle routes. What about bicycle routes? Just have some more bullet points under each category.
Is that,
Put more-
I don't know, is that, I like that, but I don't know, is that what Colleen and Frank want?
I'll take a closer look. Tomas and I can take a closer look at what, we want to be consistent with our other subcommittees. So let us take a look and see how that's presented. I think for the purposes of a work plan to council, we want to be consistent there. Doesn't mean that internally, how we look at each item within the work plan, we cannot have more detailed information. So maybe we'll take those comments, and if it's appropriate, we'll incorporate it. Otherwise, what we'll do is we will have an internal draft of our work plan with more details that we can work off of here. And then maybe we just present a more refined version to council. But let us double check. And either way, we incorporate the comments we're hearing tonight.
Yeah.
And whether we add it to the council item or if we have it as a working draft that we circulate amongst ourselves here, one or the other will do it. Because I do agree with you, and I don't want to lose the comments that you've shared. So we do want to capture that.
So, and stop me if I'm going off and like it's gonna be coming up, but this is just a technical thing here. On the safe route to school, when you guys meet with, talk about the safe routes
Mhm.
and the medallions and this and that. There's a real serious issue on visitation with the safe route, pathway. And what that is it's on the wrong side of the street because everybody that comes into Madhouse Coffee is parked on the sidewalk. And I have seen quite a few people have some close calls with cars that are backing out of their spot because of the way it's configured. And then the houses on the uphill side of the Madhouse Coffee, they have real short driveways, so all their cars that park going up the street are completely blocking the
Mhm.
sidewalk. So I didn't know if there was like liability to the city if they say this is a safe route to school and those cars are including Madhouse Coffee, which is a contentious issue because of the lack of parking, it's been said, for their customers. But if the safe route to school wasn't on that side of the street and it was on the other side of the street, then you wouldn't have customers backing out of the coffee shop. You wouldn't have people blocking the sidewalk with their cars because on the other side of the street, everybody parks in their driveways off the sidewalk. So I didn't know if that was well, I brought that up because I wasn't sure if my point about knowing that those cars were always there on the safe walks, are we supposed to be I mean, in Brisbane you walk in the street a lot everywhere. I mean
Right.
so I didn't know if we're kind of like allowing people to continually park there.
It's not, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting comment. It's not ideal to be telling people to walk somewhere and then having obstacles that push them out into the parking, into the parking or the street area, pavement area. So that's not a good scenario. I would also, technically, even if you have a short driveway, you're technically not allowed to block the sidewalk with your car, but given the configuration, are we gonna enforce that? That's another
And
question.
most of the sidewalks in Brisbane are impeded by vehicles because of the configurations of the streets and the narrow sidewalks and all the factors that
It's tough to
are
incorporate it in one place and not do it
well,
consistently.
that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I only brought it up because I thought if we can move it to the other side of the street, and change the safe route, at least right there on that one between Alvarado and Klamath on visitation.
I think that's something we can add to our
Crosswalk, sidewalk audit,
yeah,
Okay,
we can,
yeah,
and then do that in our number 4.
yeah.
So just
That makes sense. That's what I was thinking too.
one last comment on this. Is it possible to go back and add outlines, like email you outlines and then
Yeah.
some bullet points?
Sure.
All right.
I think the more depth that we have will be useful for us.
Yeah.
I just, after
I
me,
mean, I love it, but it's just generic, you know?
and that's what Colleen, I think, asked for. And so I just want to make sure that we're giving her what she wants,
I don't,
nothing more,
what
nothing.
we want to make sure is that, so, I mean, so this is, the way that I understand it is that this is your overall outline, right? And once we start getting into a deeper outline, my worry is that the council, rather than approving the outline, they start getting into the weeds
Into the weeds.
on each item. And that's what we want to avoid, because because they're gonna be providing their comments on an item that really hasn't been fully baked, right? So the visitation is the outlier, because
It's big.
we've baked it a couple of times. But on some of the other ones, I could see that kind of the conversation going in a direction where it takes some of the control out of the hands of this committee.
Right.
So that's why I was saying, let me take a closer look at that. I think we can build it out, and I'd love to we'll take any comments anybody wants to provide us on the specific items. If we feel like we're good on the 6 major topics for this year, that's our goal for tonight, but we can refine that, and I'll take a look. I mean, if others have done
Uh-huh.
more detailed outlines on their work plans, we'll do the same.
Yeah, so I mean, it could serve to audience, right? This
Yeah.
could go to the city council, and then we start working on our own, and we put more teeth to the bone, so to speak.
Right. We could do it either way. I mean, and I'm happy to have I'm happy to have a work plan as a running item in our agenda. I mean, it's 1 page.
Mhm.
Even if we add more bullet points, 1.5 pages, whatever, right? I'm fine to keep that
Yeah.
as part of our packet moving forward. That way, I feel like that actually helps, because sometimes we'll get newcomers to our committee meetings.
Yeah.
And it's a good outline for folks to look at. Okay, well, this is what we're working on.
Yeah, I mean, in our last meeting that we, had it at the library, and we're opening it up to the community in the visitation area. A lot of them were excited to go and take a look at the work plan, right? They were gonna, have an opinion, the stuff that they like or not, or more stuff.
I think the more transparent we are, it'll be better for our community.
And if people see that as part of it by chance, maybe they'll want to be more involved
So
too.
no come to
So,
me. Yeah.
no, I think that's a great comment. We'll make sure, we'll want to make sure we run it by our city manager and kind of make sure that we are in line with how the other communities are presenting this. But yeah, and either we can incorporate these additional bullet points to the one that we sent to council, or if not, we will have something that we can internally utilize and refer back to.
I was curious about the conducting the audit, citywide audit, as well as conducting the safety uh survey for the bicycle routes. Is that the city? You guys are gonna make these evaluations and come up with your findings?
No, the way that the way that we're discussing our work plan is this is going to be more of a committee-led approach. Obviously, staff are going to be available to support. If we're looking at, because that's the challenge, right? If we wanted to do, it's going to be hard for Tomas or myself or others to spend a lot of time putting the full report together. And we don't
I
have
got
the
you.
budget line item right now. Right.
Okay,
Does that
I
make
knew
sense?
that we were gonna be helping,
We are.
that's part
I
of
think it's
our role, but my
Volunteer.
question was, with the expertise, was that coming from you or was that coming from an outside person? That's
It
all.
would be coming from city staff.
Okay.
It would be from us, yeah.
I got you.
We don't have any funding assigned to this. Now, after we go through this, after we conduct these evaluations, if we see that there's more needed, if we need the additional support from a consultant, that's something we can certainly consider and add into our budget requests. So I could see some of these things becoming a little bit more baked and then turned into something a little bit more specific. And then that's when you get a consultant and we can try to get that approved, allocate funding, and kind of go through that process a little bit more focused. If we decide we want to do something more robust, citywide, that we can. I think the best way to start is for us to conduct some of these evaluations with boots on the ground between a lot of the residents that are interested, the neighborhood, so we can target specific neighborhoods.
Mhm.
There's different ways we can engage our community. And I feel like I think that was the intent of the work plan for these, at least for these efforts next year, this coming year, right now.
Yeah, 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 right now.
It's already March.
So, yeah, so those two are more along the lines of us volunteering, getting community members to volunteer their time, and then taking a map and walking and like, okay, this intersection needs some cleanup. This one's got some tree roots causing issues on the sidewalk. You know, it's kind of like a in-person, my Brisbane type thing without using the app. We're just gonna actually have a map and walk.
Yeah, I mean, we have done a couple of things where Tomas sort of organizes us. Remember?
Yeah, AB 413
Yeah.
is the first one that comes to my head. Yeah, we had
Exactly.
everyone in the field, when they had time, walking the city, identifying
All the
locations, and that helped me
line up
compile the
X
list.
amount of street and
Right, and then what I did with that information was organize it for.
Yeah, I'm retired. I'm your guy. That's why I was excited because, we talked about
Yeah.
trees and obstructions with,
Yeah.
like site.
But it's also, you've brought up several times,
Yeah.
there's no sidewalk up on North Hill Road, right?
Yeah.
And so we want to put that in there. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's not something like Kings doesn't have any, Humboldt doesn't have any sidewalks. Those probably will never have sidewalks, so that's a whole nother ballgame because the lot line goes straight to the street, right? But maybe that one could have something, right? Because there's not like a house right there on North Hill. So we want to write in all of that. So we have the data to then say, okay, we need to go get a grant, or we need to ask city council for more budget.
Or like what I
capital
talked
improvement.
about, if they ever did develop the top of North Hill, then that could be part of the agreement for that development to bring the sidewalk down to.
And they
that type of
might.
thing, maybe.
And some of that stuff, you could also have another indirect benefit. Like if you put sidewalks on Trucker Park, then people would be maybe more willing to walk to the restaurants here.
Yeah.
Or even if you incorporate some entrances on the walkway, right? And anybody could jump in.
Heather Crocker Park Trail.
Yeah.
Jump on that loop and
Mhm.
in there,
Yeah.
go to the restaurant, which they really need it.
So as we get into some of these,
Well, it's a new one, but
No, I'm kidding.
so as we get into some of these things, I mean, there's other efforts happening, like Crocker Park Trail is a project in itself, right? And they're actually, so that project's still moving forward. So we'll kind of tie in what else is happening that overlaps with our priorities as we get to each of these items.
Perfect. All right, so any other comments on the work plan, or can we have a motion to approve the 2026 work plan to present to city council?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this draft
Good
plan
job,
goes to
guys.
the
Thank you.
city council. Let's see
Thank you.
what they say. All right, next we have the review and finalize visitation of avenue improvements proposal to city council. Mog, do you want to say anything before we dive in?
I will, just a quick overview. So obviously we had our last community meeting. We had a lot of great feedback from the community. I don't think anybody heard anything that was really new to the conversation. But still it was nice to kind of re-engage and reaffirm where the direction that we were taking on some of these elements. The way that the way that Tomas and I looked at this staff report, obviously we've got the background, but the recommendation was very specific to the way that we've been discussing the matrix of options, right? So rather than putting something out there that was so large and encompassing of all elements, we broke it down into 4 distinct areas. That way we can get feedback on each one from council. And obviously, different ones have different price tags with them. They have different departments that would need to be involved. So that was the concept, and the way that we wrote the staff report was deliberate to provide kind of bite-sized pieces of each of these elements. And I don't expect to not move forward on any of them, but we could move forward on a couple of them. They could ask us to move forward on all of them. We'll see what happens when we go to present this in the first meeting in April. But that was the highlight that I wanted to provide. We've internally already looked at making some modifications to the draft to make it a little bit more reflective of what we've heard. For example, some of the, when somebody mentioned that we didn't talk about the times of the loading zones. It's in the survey, so we're gonna pull some of that information added. So tonight, we wanted to bring this back to this committee and see if there's any other feedback from you all on the tone, on the direction, and the information on this draft report, and then we'll finalize it and take it to city council.
I mean, my take is, there's probably a lot of low hanging fruits, right, that we can jump on it. And then, and there was a lot of emphasis on, at one point, also needs to make a decision, are they gonna use the team center for parking, or this housing project, whatever.
Right.
And also, there were practicals, push from the community. One of them is, can we just put stop signs, and obviously you guys need to run your analysis and whatnot. And the other one is, we're doing all these things in terms of enforcement. Can we just hire somebody? And it doesn't have to be a full officer. It could just be, I don't know, what kind of officer is the one that just drives the little traffic.
I'll do it, I'm retired.
But from that meeting, the other thing that I gathered, a lot of people jump on things that they can volunteer and help out. So that was my take.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Tomas, you want to share what we've done in between?
Signs.
for the
Oh, yeah,
steps?
yeah. So I think I emailed you guys 2 weeks ago that I met with the consultant in the field, and he just we talked about the current conditions. We talked about kind of the background. So he knows all about you guys. I told him about the completions committee, how this is something that recommendation that's been worked on a lot by the committee, and that visitation as a whole is being improved. And so we hashed out those details, talked about timeline, which I said was ASAP, and he actually he gave us his proposal on Monday, and me and Maz are evaluating internally. There are some maybe deletions because it's a very thorough proposal, but again, we only have these two intersections, so we're going to reevaluate, and then we will actually move forward probably in the next coming weeks, next month or
Yeah,
so.
I'm happy to share the cost. It was for
Yeah,
two
but-
intersections, it was almost $20,000, which isn't out of line when you consider the equipment, they'll put counters out. There's staff time to evaluate, to review the information, prepare the report. So it's not out of line, but we do want to see if there's an opportunity to shave a little bit,
So $20,000 to do what?
just to do the evaluation on the warrant of the stop signs.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It also factors in how much we ask of him. For instance, if we ask him to come into a city council meeting, or if we ask him to come to
Right.
so those things could change and obviously shave the cost. But yeah, 20,000 was it. He comes to everything.
So if they feel that stop signs is not a solution for whatever technical reason, are they going to give other options?
Their scope would be specifically on the stop signs themselves. So what we're asking them to do is to provide the warrant analysis that you are required to do under California law to implement a stop sign at an intersection. So that's what they're gonna do, and there's a very specific formula that they follow. Volumes are important, traffic speeds, so that's part of the data collection they have to do. And then they look at other things like right-of-way constraints and permanent visibility obstructions, things of that nature. And then that's all part of the evaluation process. So there is the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. It's this document by the state that has, there's exhibits that show all the different public signs that you can see on any street or park or, routes. But then there's a whole lot of information about everything with respect to traffic control. And there is a chapter specifically for stop sign, establishing a stop sign, and that's they call it warrants. So there are these specific warrants that you have to make findings. Otherwise, if you go through that process and it's not warranted based on the findings, then we actually will be prohibited from installing a stop sign.
So, just to, have more understanding on this process, you couldn't install a stop sign sort of on a ad hoc basis to see if it's gonna work because you would get hit by the law that's illegal.
If you put in a stop sign, even temporary, in a currently uncontrolled intersection without the warrant and there is an accident, the city could get sued.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but that is the way they've applied it, and there's a lot of legal reasons they do it. But there's also, what I would say is the warrant analysis is based in science. So yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. Every intersection that in my career that I've added a stop sign to or removed, always had a study. In some cases, I've done them in-house myself at different times in my career when I had more time to do it. I've done them myself. And in a lot of cases, but in a lot of smaller jurisdictions, we've contracted it out. But yeah, just to be clear, without that establishment of the warrants, my hands are tied as far as what we can do. And so that's the way I've applied that in my 20 years working.
Is there an exception to the warrants when we were asking the neighborhood over on visitation what their concerns were, and one of the biggest concerns was the fact that there wasn't a stop sign at Mariposa and visitation, and how challenging it could be to try to cross there or turn there and all these factors. And I was wondering if that could be taken into consideration for over, an overriding consideration of, public outcry.
What I will do is I'll find the chapter on the warrant analysis and I can share that with the committee. I'm happy to do that. When you have multiple intersections, they generally will not, it does play into the overall picture because remember, volumes and speeds are important when you're doing the stop warrant analysis. So if you're doing one intersection and you have other intersections, the traffic patterns based on existing conditions, that's what's going to provide some of that information. So we can certainly look at doing multiple analyses at once. I think it's important that we are strategic on where we look at. Obviously, there's a cost that's associated with each of these analyses. But yeah, I think we can. I think Paul came out and did a site walk before he put this proposal
Right.
together.
Yeah,
So they're thinking.
Oh yeah,
His name's also Paul. Sorry.
Yeah,
It is?
consultant, yeah.
Oh,
So-
oh, the consultant.
Yeah.
Like Tomas. Oh, Tomas.
So he understands that. I think there's not one single criteria. That's why the warrants, it's important to look at all the different criteria that's part of this analysis. And ultimately, if you have, and then it becomes a judgment call. You don't have to have every single one of them checked, right? It's one of those scenarios where if you have the volumes and speeds are the highest priority, that translates directly towards how much traffic control you need out there. And so those are the ones that will always be the if you meet one of those, you almost don't even have to go through the rest.
Stop sign included.
It's that, yeah, that's that. If those don't warrant it, there's a few more categories that they look at, like sight distance, visibility, things like that. I don't know if there's something about surrounding areas, but I'll take a closer look and I'll share that with everybody.
Thanks.
Also on this Mariposa visitation intersection, I just wanted to note that in the past, so I had to get this consultant to track the collision data for the past 12 years, and there's been one collision at that intersection in the past 13, 12 years. So I say that to say Christian, you might remember when we talked about the San Bruno signal and how they want more crashes, how that actually helps you in terms. That's so along those lines. There haven't been that many crashes at this intersection.
So I get that as far as how they base their.
Yeah, and unfortunately, near misses are not counted.
Okay, so that's where I was talking about the public outcries, and that was the primary concerns, that there were so many near misses, and watching other near misses or whatever they were really concerned about at that intersection. That's all I was
No, yeah,
getting at, is that, I get that it seems like it's an accident waiting to happen sometimes if you're basing it on, oh, now we're going to do it because we had to pay talent. That's all.
I mean, we also sort of told them traffic is just going to increase, right? And visitation, I guess you could probably make the case that the traffic it is going to increase, especially with the ratio of more building apartments being built than businesses, right? So you're gonna have more traffic. But they also that they say it doesn't pass the threshold. We need to see that increment, and yeah, it's not easy to.
And when you do, I mean, when you're the part of our, so as things build out, part of private development review is forecasting those increases. So there is, I mean, when you're planning a project, there's a traffic impact analysis. This is one way to measure for existing. So this stop warrant analysis is for existing infrastructure. So we're not changing the roadway configuration, right? It's looking at what we have right now and does that meet the criteria needed for a stop sign. When you're looking at private development, especially larger projects, there's a different traffic impact analysis that we do. And if the future projections warrant it, that will be part of the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have stuff that you could say this is going to increase?
The visitation is challenging because it's mostly infill, so it won't generate that much. If we had a big project like the quarry project, that one has a traffic impact analysis that's tied to it. Obviously, Baylands will have a pretty robust traffic impact analysis that's going to look at all of their impacts with respect to their project scoped area. We can, it's conceivable to look at central Brisbane and look at those areas, but that's something that until those kind of move forward, it'll be tough to kind of tie that towards the potential. If we had a project that was approved, then it's kind of then we can start looking at some of those impacts.
How about the large vehicles inflow? Are they gonna be channeled through visitation, or you have a different route?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, that's part of what we're going to look at when we look at the truck routes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that might impact it or not.
I don't know if that really impacts. Yeah. So I pulled it up and I'll share this with you guys. So there are the criteria for all way control is the crash experience. Has there, for a four-legged intersection, are there 5 or more reported crashes in a 12-month period? There's some other criteria in there. I'm just sharing that as a highlight. Then there's the sight distance is the other one, where the engineering study indicates that sight distance on the minor road approach controlled by a stop is not adequate for a vehicle to turn into the cross into the major uncontrolled situation. Transition to signal control or to other controlled intersections. That is a criteria that they will evaluate. 8-hour volumes. So if you've got, they look at both vehicles, pedestrians and bicycles, and if they meet certain volumes, it'll warrant it. And then there's something they call other factors. If there's a need to control left turn conflicts, intersection of 2 residential neighborhoods, collectors, where it would improve operational flows. And then there's one that talks about where pedestrians and bicycle movements support the installation of all-way stop control. So these are lower on the list, but they are things that we can utilize. And so when this study is done, they're going to do they're looking at the traffic data, the collision history. They're going to do all that stuff. Then it's a little bit more subjective, and we get a little bit more involved in that conversation.
Are you guys gonna make that report public or just?
No, it'll be a public document.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we will definitely make this a public document. It'll be, I mean, the final product will always be a public document as far as anybody requesting the information. But my plan, one way or the other, was to actually present the findings.
Great. 2 questions on that before we go back into the draft report. The 8-hour volume, is that a set? Does Paul, the consultant, pick the 8-hour time? Because it doesn't sound like it's going to be a 24-hour.
It's 8 hours of a typical day. So
9 to 5.
Yeah, generally that's what they go. Paul, the consultants will recommend what they generally do, but we have some say. So in some areas where you may be more of a tourist-driven community, I've done warrant analysis in Half Moon Bay where we looked at the weekend because that's when we had the most volumes and the most issues. So there's some subjectivity to it.
I want to make sure you're considering rush hour on those streets, which is
Yeah.
to school.
We want
So you want to keep that
the
8 hour.
school
8
drop
o'clock.
off and pickup times are critical,
Yeah.
absolutely. We also
Yeah,
want to try to
close in, when you do your study.
get.
At the school drop off.
Sorry, we just happen to have road work. Sorry.
Detour. So, okay, so good. So you guys have some control over that. And
Yeah.
then when this study is done, and I hope it passes, I hope at least one stop sign is warranted, if not both. However, if none are warranted right now, are we precluded from coming back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later, when maybe things have changed? Can we run it again and see if
Yeah. Absolutely.
More accidents, 5 years.
You don't want to do it like the next year would be tough.
Yeah.
But if you give it a little bit of time with some changes, with just general land use and
Yep.
redevelopment, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would say generally 5 years time frame would be kind of the minimum I'd look at, but if something significant happens that causes concern,
Look at
2
it.
years,
Yeah.
3 years, even the next year. I mean, if we do the warrant and somehow somebody comes and says, well, we're going to redevelop the old community center space and we're going to turn it into a high rise.
We're not.
Nobody's done
Okay.
that. Nobody said that. Just completely out of the ballpark hypothetical. Something like that. If I didn't know, I wouldn't know about it when we did the study.
Right.
If that comes in 6 months and that moves forward, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
would cost.
Okay.
That would be a cost to revisit.
Okay.
Without something major like that, I would give it a couple of years at least.
All right. So going back to the report on visitation, couple of things. One of the things you mentioned, Christian, was the parking attendant. That's called LAZ in South San Francisco, LAZ. Tomas and Maz did list that down in the enforcement strategies. I did talk to Commander Garcia about that as well after the meeting, because, and if you watch the most recent city council, like they even discussed adding a police officer is going to be like $250,000 a year with all their benefits and health and welfare benefits. But putting in a third party parking enforcement, call it whichever, I think that's what you call it, $75,000-$80,000 a year, and they just write the tickets, right? And they don't have to just do this, they could go down the other streets and hit up the people who aren't doing the 3-hour parking, is my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, we
Or 3-day
I was
parking, not 3 hours.
speak about this. We did, review all those type of contractors. But I think what the community was more thinking is just have somebody in-house, right? Because this is more like a firm that is, and when we reviewed them, it was not necessarily in the context of visitation. It was on the residential program parking. We were going to have stickers, we were going to have this and that, and control that. We did that for years. But this is just more on visitation for the most part. But obviously, once you have this type of person, it could also go to other areas. I'm just curious if there's a big salary difference between one of these officers versus like a real officer. In my opinion, it probably is, right? It's going to have a limited scope. And also, you don't have to give them like a $30,000 bonus sign in because an officer, that's what happens nowadays. This is more like a clerical person. Maybe they even have a gun.
That's a good question. I don't know if most of the parking enforcements, they don't carry guns. Usually they have tasers and other safety equipment.
The third party parking.
Yeah,
enforcement people.
yeah. So we can talk more to Commander Garcia in our police department about that. They felt based on conversations I've heard conversations in the public settings. We've had internal dialogue. Right now, our police department feels like the best way to have focused parking enforcement consistent is through a third party. That's where they feel like not just from a cost perspective, but also from attention to detail perspective. Because if you have an officer, we're pretty small, so I don't. That was kind of their mentality was we're going to be overpaying for a full-time position to do parking attendance. If we do something that is more And in that case, if we try to get other officers to do some of that work, as Commander Garcia mentioned at the last meeting, there's other things that come in their course of work that will pull them away. So the consistency gets lost. So that was kind of their mentality behind the third party was consistent presence, focused on this specific task under the direction of our police department.
I mean, we do have those, you know, when they came and did a presentation of those, what are they called?
Yeah.
Safety six.
Those are still, so, I talked to Commander Garcia about that as well. Those still have not been tested in California. We're not sure if they're going to pass state law. And we could take a risk and do it and see if we get challenged. And in which case, we
Gotta
went through a
refund.
trial period and we have to basically, we have to, we can't, we cannot collect on the tickets, right? So there is that potential. Commander Garcia and others were hopeful that another jurisdiction would move first and be the test subject before we implemented that. But that's something that the council can certainly consider. But it's a larger policy discussion that has impacts on a lot of things. They'll have to
Free
weigh
though,
in.
right? That one,
Well-
that one was sort of.
Yeah,
Well, it's free, but only because, so here's the kicker.
Here's where
It's
they-
free, but they make their money on the tickets issued.
yeah,
So
They manage all.
if they start seeing tickets not being issued because people are compliant, they'll remove it.
Yeah.
That's the way that works.
so, the
Yeah.
parking issue on visitation, I mean, adding more parking somewhere has always been talked about, and we're talking about it now with the teen center. But I think the big issue was the double parking, the cars that are parked there forever. There's a lot of multi units on visitation that don't have parking. And that can have an impact on people that live in the neighborhood because they're dependent on that street parking.
Right.
So the enforcement part by police is double parking that's enforceable, something that they would enforce. And uh, Commander Garcia made the comment that while officers can enforce parking citations, they're trained for public safety, and to the point of we're not going to all the training, all the costs, and all the thing for an officer, have an officer doing parking enforcement. But if we can manage the vehicles that are parked there like for days, and the double parking, is it necessary to have a parking enforcement on
Yeah.
visitation? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen any businesses suffer or people that live in the area suffer because of the parking issues on visitation. It's the blocking the sidewalks, it's the double parking, it's the vehicles parked there forever. And now that we've done the daylighting thing,
Right, but if you look at the business survey, they are complaining about people parking there for, and taking up spots to have access to their business.
Yeah, there's certain things that they can observe, our police department, and with their code enforcement personnel too. There are certain things that they can incorporate into the day-to-day, and there's certain things that they can't. So I think there's a question of where they should be focusing. And if we want something that was, because from what we've heard from the community, it's everything, right? So you start talking, some people are focused on the safety component. Some people are concerned about the accessibility to spaces. Some want to see more turnover, and the 20-minute or 2-hour parking enforcement happening. So I think when you start having a conversation, there's a lot of desires that come out. And so if we want to do something that addresses all of these issues, this is where our police department believes that it's the best way to do it. The most cost effective.
I mean, we're not gonna have a silver bullet to fix all those problems. And that's why we're having this conversation with different initiatives, right?
Mhm.
But for instance, like when I I have a business here in Brisbane, and if I have time and I want to have lunch in one of those businesses, one of those restaurants, because I live so close, it doesn't even cross my mind to try to find a parking space because I'm not. I just go to my house and I walk through the thing, which is a sad thing because those businesses have been anemic for a long time. They're not going to make it with the Brisbane market. They need to incorporate the surrounding business, Crocker Park, and all that. And everywhere you go where they have a downtown, they have a parking structure. I just don't understand. And I'm not saying that's going to be like the answer, but then we have all these different initiatives, and we do have a really good opportunity to organize that area, right? To make it well for the businesses, which is they're the ones that use it the most.
That's a good point. I've heard that come up in conversations. There's been just talks about doing, here's the other thing. Parking enforcement is really easy when you have metering.
Yeah.
Because that's a funding mechanism.
But even the business owners didn't like the meter.
I know.
Which was,
So that's where it gets challenging. But I know you're right. It's not one single thing. I think it's an approach of trying to address multiple things.
right.
The enforcement piece is, it obviously came up as part of the survey, and we're bringing that forward. But again, those are one of those things where our police department and our city council and our city manager's office will really have to, understand how they're going to fold that into our day-to-day operations. And right now, that's the thinking is that's the best way. We were hopeful that the safety sticks would be an option, but unfortunately, because of state law and the way that that's been slowly rolled out, it's not. We could try it, but it would be a trial, and it could end up costing us some money and losing.
Weren't they doing it down in Southern California?
They were going to, and they haven't.
Oh,
That was the problem. So I forgot what city that was. To commence, what is it?
City of Ceres, like CRES.
Yeah,
small
that
city.
was,
Yeah.
Oh, serious? Just inside of Modesto?
I think
And
Brisbane
they're
is it, yeah.
Really?
ripping.
Ripon?
Nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows where that's
I
at.
know where that's at.
so that whatever jurisdiction that they had talked about at the meeting last April,
Last May, yeah.
okay, at the complete streets, that never went forward.
Okay,
That city pulled out because they didn't want to be the guinea pig.
okay.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we're proposing, what, Maz and Tomas are taking to the city council,
Mhm.
I look at it as like ladders, right? We're just trying to take steps up the ladder. And if we can get, as you said, 2, 3, all would be great, but if we can get a few of them going this year, like you said, low hanging fruit, get the low hanging fruit done, right? And then say, look, you took our advice, we implemented those. We're still seeing X, Y, and Z. Like, let's take the next step. Let's do the next rung.
If I could just say something about my experience at that meeting with the liaisons, Colleen Mack in particular, was concerned that we weren't as prepared and didn't have like a thorough presentation on things that we were presenting. And I made the comment that these were just ideas. And I don't understand how coming into our meeting could have been more productive rightfully so, because she is detail orientated. I mean, you guys are. And but I sense that being overly detail orientated when the comment was that these are just ideas. This isn't a polished product, but how do we how can we make it clear that we need to be able to not expect a polished product here? This is something we're working on.
Yeah, that's a good comment. I think I had, I kind of, I think there's a lot, the main factor was changeover in staff and style, right? So, I think that was a big part. And obviously Colleen has been part of this committee in the past, so her experience was different than your experiences and obviously my experience. So one thing that we all learned was the expectations that our mayor had for this liaison group versus where I think this committee and the staff supporting it kind of felt. We went into it with the intention that this is a rough list, knowing that we're gonna have to whittle it down to something that's tangible. They saw it as a finished product that was trying to be overly ambitious. And I think leaving the beginning of the meeting, it was a little unclear. And I think that was a misstep on my part, not kind of prepping the council liaisons properly of what to expect from this meeting. So I think that was what that was. I think leaving it, they understood where we were, and for me, I feel like this was a good learning experience to understand their expectations, this committee's expectations. None of this is policy that's set in stone. It's just past practice, and so
And so I brought that up. I only brought that up because after that meeting, I thought, okay, now it's going to go to the council. So are we going to be still at a stalemate to where that's brought up again? Like, hey, we need to. I mean, I didn't want the council to start to go off
Oh.
thinking the same thing that we had at our meeting.
well, that's why I was worried about putting in too many details in the draft in the work plan. That was where my comment came because of the experience we had with the liaison committee.
Okay,
So, but yeah, I mean, with the list that was approved, the idea would be we would take this to council consistent with what they are expecting from other committees. And, we had notes from the people that were, involved. Councilmember Curran, Mayor Mackin, our chair, our internally, I think we probably, I don't know if you shared notes, but if you did, we all incorporate all of that into this work plan. So what we have that was approved is that polished product. So I feel confident that this is gonna go before the council. I don't know if they may have some talking points and want to discuss some of this stuff, but I think it's a final product.
so then my thought was that Frank and Colleen could, if the other council that wasn't privy to what we've talked about, starts to go off kind of in the same direction of how our meeting went is what I was trying to get at.
Got it.
Can we kind of like, because I want to keep it flowing, you know what I mean?
You wanna get ahead of it.
Well, a little bit, because I could see it happening. I could see if they had questions or if she had questions that the others might have questions and it might kind of go in that
I mean,
direction.
can you email it and have her give some feedback before the formal presentation or something?
Well, yeah, they'll get the item as part of the packet in advance. I'll talk to our city manager to see if he wants to share the draft. I mean, this is a public document right now, so
I mean, they
I can
literally
I can just send that email to the liaison at least.
I mean,
I'm happy to do that.
overall, what is your feeling in terms of where we're at now and when you guys present it? It looks like we have a lot more stuff going on. We've got more costs, more detail, some of them have timelines. Do we have like a very clear priorities?
Are we talking about the work plan or are we talking about
No, we're talking about the business session.
I feel like, I mean, we have, again, we have each of them, they're different, right? Some of these things are enforcement and some of them are quicker, some of them are longer term, projects. And I think what I'm expecting is to have a dialogue on each of those four categories and get their feedback on how they want to move forward. And whatever the council ultimately decides they want to support, we will, uh, we will look at that and refine that in more detail. We don't have to open up the survey again, but once we get the direction from the council on which priorities to focus on, we will focus on those and bring that to this committee for feedback. Once, like, let's say they say, okay, we want to look at the raised crosswalks. Okay, then we sit down and we go through, okay, they wanted to do it, we're supporting it. Whether we get funding or we position ourselves for a grant, it doesn't matter. The direction is put the effort into it. Okay, so then we'll look at this corridor and we'll look at every intersection that it makes sense to incorporate. And then we'll put a more refined cost proposal together on what we think it'll take. Because again, we put kind of these unit costs, right? So each intersection could be this much. On my plan would be to come back with something that's actual project. If they say go forward with
Right.
the raised crosswalks, for example.
I mean, typically, the city council or this type of audience where you're gonna present this, they have a lot of anxiety because they want to pull the trigger, and obviously they either want to dance around or whatever. And sometimes we have so here you have four categories, right? We're doing pedestrian traffic enforcement and parking supply. I guess the burger you eat it one bite at a time. Maybe you go two sections instead of the whole thing, and then just clear say this is low hanging food. It's not gonna cost any money. Probably like it, just to get moving because there is the concept, but then there's the people.
Right.
And people want to see stuff already.
Yeah, I could see them, and they're gonna have some clarifying questions, and that's part of our job as staff to kind of guide them through that. And I think, yeah, there's gonna be some clarifying questions. They're gonna want some information. The things that are kind of low hanging fruit that aren't very expensive, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of pushback on those. I think those are gonna be like, yeah, let's move on those. I think the permanent infrastructure improvements, because of the cost factor, they'll probably have questions about that. And again, if they want us to explore it, I don't have to go get a consultant to start putting some of these rough ideas and concepts together. I just need them to provide the direction that they want us to start exploring that. Then we can do some of that work in house.
So
The loading zones.
Yeah.
Give us the okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we can operationally absorb those costs. We can do that. It's more about the noticing and community outreach as we implement it. That'll be the lead time. If it was just a staff directive, if it wasn't, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Given we want to provide that general feedback, people the meeting will know, and not everybody watches the meeting, so we still want to make sure we are make people aware. But stuff like that, if they give us the okay, we don't have to wait around.
Okay.
That's kind of my idea. The more expensive improvements, if they're favorable for that, then we can figure out, okay, if that's what it is, then I can come back to council and say, all right, you want us to look at reconfiguring this roadway, and there's going to be all these costs, and there's going to be some design, heavy design requirement. No problem. Here's a proposal for design. Here's my rough estimate of what the project overall would cost. And right now, we just need the seed money to do the design work. But I would come back with that first to this committee before we go to council to ask for that money. Or if we tie it, we have a 2-year budget cycle, so it's not, we don't have an opportunity this year to ask for a whole lot of money. But we can look at what we have approved for next year, and maybe we realign some of that cost.
And at what point do you look into grants?
I mean, when we go to council, if they give us direction to move forward on looking at San Bruno Avenue, for example, and doing a major redo or safety improvement project along that corridor, I would say, okay, that would be a prime one. And so we would do our due diligence on the design costs. We would give a rough number of what it would cost for that project, high level, just so we know what the ballpark is. And then that would be a project where I would just, as a staff member, say, this would be a prime candidate for some sort of grant funding.
So for example, there's a TA bike ped grant. It's cyclical. It's every other year. So right away, when I think about some of these improvements, I have certain grants in mind that are not special grants. They happen every couple of years. So when I think about some of these projects, I'm like, okay, well, if let's say council says yes, then we'll actually make that grant based on their approval. They decide.
And not to get sidetracked, but is it my understanding that we didn't get the grant for Quarry Road? For the
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, for the trail, quarry trail. Right.
Correct. We did not get that grant. That one was a little bit larger scale because that was through ABAG, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that was looking at the 9 Bay Area counties. So we were up against a lot of competition,
Gotcha.
and
But you could reapply, right?
we can reapply
Comes up
for it.
every year.
Well, we can reapply for that one. There's other grant opportunities that'll come by. For Brisbane, I think anything within the San Mateo County, so I think TA or CCAG, we have a good shot because we're competing with other cities within San Mateo County. Our median household income, unfortunately, unfortunately, is higher than most of California and the region. So San Mateo County has a really tough time getting grants that are regional or statewide.
Yeah.
We have a really hard time.
But the TA, when I went to their meeting, they got money. We just need to ask for it. And they don't have enough small towns asking for it. So
We will.
We will be.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why on our work plan, of all this work we're gonna do, sooner we get to it, obviously the better, because then we're ready for all the grants, right?
What's important is that prioritization of where we want to focus our time and effort. I think that's really important because we have a finite amount of time as staff. We don't have we won't be able to get more staff. It's going to be challenging. We have a finite amount of time, and where we focus our efforts now, where we plant that seed of that project is important because that will set us up for future funding opportunities.
Mhm.
The more baked the concept is, the further progress you have on community outreach and concept level planning, the better you are, the chance we have to get not just construction dollars, but there's opportunities for design and environmental review funding. So that's what's important.
Mhm. Yeah. So the visitation report. Any other questions or comments for?
Is there anything that we missed on this report? Anything that we should include before we go to council? I did mention we're still tweaking it a little bit.
Right, we'll share it again so as we speak.
Well,
But I want to get your feedback on if there's anything that's really you feel like we've missed.
I think you did a really good job. I did have a comment I was gonna save to the end, but maybe I could bring it up now because it's presentation concluded. I was gonna ask how the request for volunteers to paint red curbs went.
Oh, we're working through that with our city manager's office. We've kind of we have a game plan as far as how we're going to engage some of our volunteers. So actually, we have another meet. I have another meeting with CMO on Monday to talk more about the logistics. But yeah, that's moving forward.
Mhm.
So we've come up with a short list of areas we feel is safe. I think I don't know if we have a lot in visitation itself, but we had a list of areas that were problem locations that based on community outreach. We're going to focus on that, see how it goes, and then I think we can continue utilizing our volunteers for that effort.
And wasn't it because it was cost effective and could be done immediately as opposed to a maybe possible budgetary item?
Yeah, because I mean, it's the timing and the budget, right? So if we wanted to do it operationally internally with our city staff, we can certainly do that, but there'll be a longer time period to do it.
That's why you
Yeah.
came up with maybe we could, because
Right.
it's such a pretty straightforward detail that
Yeah. No, there's still, I mean, obviously the staff is still involved. We're still gonna want to make sure that we have some
consistency.
consistency. We want to make sure that it's done cleanly because actually, one thing with the red paint is if it's not done well and it bleeds out, it's you have to sandblast that and to get it to remove it in a lot of cases.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
That was, I mean,
And then
that wasn't in the report. Is all I was getting at.
got it. No,
And
we
I know it
didn't-
has nothing.
Yeah.
Specifically to do with visitation, but I thought it was.
yeah, no, that volunteer program is moving forward separately.
Okay.
For this year we're focusing on new red curbs based on 8413. But if this volunteer effort does well and people are interested to do it, I would love to incorporate that volunteer effort in even just the maintenance and upkeep of areas that we need to restrict. That would be wonderful. So I think the first time is great, but the cost comes in when you have a large backlog of work. So if this works well and people are interested to continue volunteering, I think we can turn this into something where we can continue annually doing more work.
So the traffic flow modifications, is that where you have, a, a route for heavy vehicle and also this might be a Hail Mary. Have they ever thought about making visitation one way? And if that's the case, can you recirculate something to accommodate the traffic?
That didn't come about in the survey, so we weren't considering visitation being one way as part of this effort.
I think there'll be pitchforks at our doors if we throw that out there, just saying. I don't know that the town will receive visitation as a one-way quite well.
Also, the traffic flow, it's just these bullet points, so it doesn't include the circulation of the trucks.
Right, I
These-
think the only other thing that I would consider adding of note to let them know you're working on is the stop signs. Not to say that you're not asking them for approval, just so that way it's in the report, so that way when the public comes and says, hey, wait a minute, we talked about this at the Complete Streets, safety meeting, why didn't they put that in the report?
We can add
I
that.
would just, not that
We can
you're
add that.
asking for permission, just to,
Yeah, just a little note. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
um,
Yeah, we can, that's no problem. I think that helps with the context.
and then as far as the pedestrian safety improvements, my concern is they're gonna see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're gonna go, well, you want to do all of these at all of them? What are, so I would maybe rank them or give them some guidance on like draw pictures for them. I don't know, like give them the PowerPoint.
The
that you guys did
PowerPoint we
with the
do,
pictures,
yeah, the
so they
the
can see
PowerPoint
that.
we do is going to be focused with a lot of pictures of some of the
Mhm.
different options. I think one of the comments that staff brought up was clarifying that these are a suite of potential improvements that in one area we may consider something versus somewhere else.
Right.
So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll provide that bigger context.
And also one more thing I was thinking, um, I have seen when, I don't remember where now, but just driving and you'll see a little like this tall in the middle of the road on the yellow or white line. Maybe this wide, and it says like caution for pedestrians or, but it does not a stop sign. It's just yellow and white on
Usually
the
it's a
middle.
yield. They have those those in the middle of the crosswalk you're talking about.
It could be in the middle of the crosswalk, but it could be just before the crosswalk.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really for the vehicles to like notice there's a
Yield to
crosswalk.
the pedestrian.
Yes, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, yeah. I don't know how much those cost, and if those could be put on this suite of options, because maybe they're only a couple $100.
We
I
have
don't
one of
know.
those out here on Valley
We
in
do.
front of City Hall.
Yeah,
They get yeah, I mean they're not the initial install is not that expensive. Some of them are better than others. As far as the base, I think that's usually what it is.
Mhm.
Some of them are like they're glued down.
Yeah.
Those don't last very long.
Cool.
The other ones are bolt in place. So those would last a little bit longer. It's funny. It's they get hit a lot.
I was gonna say,
The replace
car
there's a replacement factor.
Yeah.
I don't understand like that's the funny part. It tends I think I don't know if it's a matter of highlighting that people are kind of cutting through the middle of the roadway because that's where they're usually placed is
right,
in the center
right
of
in
the
the
road.
middle. Mhm.
So I don't know if it just highlights that people are doing that more often, and even with the physical barrier, you're still getting those folks to do it. But yeah, no, we can have that. That's not a huge cost.
And maybe they make one now that can go wing, and it just kind of bounces back.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some plastic or polymer somewhere that can do that. Um, and then I just think, you know, keep reminding them for broken down.
Yeah.
Like don't have to do them all, can do them all.
What are the ones? Yeah, there's obviously some of them that are going to be more expensive than others.
Mhm.
So that is the mentality going into it will be to highlight all four sections, identify the lower hanging fruit, and then hopefully get some direction on the ones that are a little bit pricier, and then we can really start putting pen to paper and
Right.
start designing something.
So definitely, yeah. Like Emily said, put the stop sign in there and just make whatever notification that there's an analysis going on.
Sure.
And that range just seems a little too big, 15 to 200K.
I mean, I think it's fair though, right? Because if you have
15 to 200K,
150 to 200K?
no, it's
They're under 50.
it's 100. Yeah, that's the pedestrian hybrid beacon. That think about the long mast arm like a signal, or you have the large flashing. You would see that more on somewhere like Bayshore.
down the bottom,
If you
but it's
go to
down at the
fiscal impact,
going to the very bottom, where fiscal
Yeah.
impact, it talks about preliminary costs are 15 to 200.
oh, over here.
Oh yeah, we'll fix that.
Well, no, I think you're right. Right? It's per improvement.
I think we can clarify it.
Yeah.
I think we can clarify. I think that range is too generic. I hear you.
Yeah, that is the range.
Gotcha.
That sounds like, yeah, it's like Give me a little more
I
detail.
was trying to, we were trying to kind of wrap it up in a conclusion, but that is a little bit confusing.
Right.
We'll revise that. Thank you.
And I would add the survey results from both the residents as well as the businesses
It's attachment.
as an attachment, so they have all the data.
We have both, right? We have both that we can attach.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're doing, or what are the plans to do with the old library?
Teen Center.
We are, I'm
Putting it
actually
out there.
getting, I'm working on, I know it's a little bit off topic, but not too much because we're on visitation. I'm getting a proposal to do a building assessment to see what we can do. There's a couple of things with that. One is structurally, I want to make sure that it's up to current codes. We have some as-built, which is great, but there's definitely going to be some retrofit, likely necessary to get that second story activated. The big piece is the ADA. I know that's something that my predecessor had brought up, and he's not wrong. It was that front ramp does not meet current ADA standards. So one of the other things that I've asked the consultant to scope into their assessment is a elevator, because redoing the ramp is not going to. We're not going to be able to meet the grade based on the elevation difference between the second story and the first story. So what I kind of focused them on was two options. I think interior elevator is expensive. Because you're talking about redoing the structural components within the building itself. But if there's an exterior staircase that goes down to the back, the patio area in the back. That might be an option for us to look at creating an ADA path of travel to get there with an elevator to get you to the second story. But yeah, I'm waiting on a proposal to get that, and I'll be taking that to council for direction. But hopefully, getting that started soon. That's one of the things that was put on my list early on, was to see how we can activate that area, because especially the second story is it's very underutilized. I mean, it's wasted space.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say utilize. You just have old storage that, I don't know. Our Parks and Rec folks store it, but they have other areas they can store stuff.
So I'm curious, why not in the front? Right on the left-hand corner of the property when you come into the front of the
The
property,
elevator.
the elevator, yeah.
And you know what? That was one.
And
That was
I
one idea.
I only say that because to get out to the back, logistically, then you have to go down the ramp through the downstairs. And it's my understanding that downstairs, the reason why they wanted to keep that underutilized is because the city makes revenue on it to rent out the downstairs. With that said, that's why I was asking about the elevator on the outside and the front, because you wouldn't have to go through anything that was going on downstairs to go upstairs.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of threw that out there as an option because the staircase in the back is unusable.
Yeah.
It's unsafe. So we're gonna have to remove that anyways. But yeah, it's not tied just to that one. That was just one concept I threw out there. When they're gonna do an ADA assessment, and I told them, I told the consultant, as far as the scope, I want you guys to take a look at this building, look at the elevations of the surrounding site. You tell me what's the most appropriate location. I know that the interior elevator is expensive and it changes the use. It kind of becomes one structure. Right now, if we keep it separate, you can rent the two spaces separately.
Well, that's what I was getting at, but
Yeah.
my point was that they would have to go through the downstairs to get to the elevator.
Unless they can
Maybe.
create some other path around the side of the building, but yeah, and
So my point was that you couldn't really have two separate spaces because they're being
Okay.
impacted by people trying to get to the upstairs.
Yeah. So I've let them know. That was that was one of my clarifying questions. It would have helped me to understand if the long-term vision of the structure was to do something that was one unit, first and second floors, or if we're going to keep it independent. And because we don't have any intended use right now, it was kind of I didn't get a strong response one way or the other. So now we're going towards what's the most cost-effective way, and it would be an exterior lift. And the way I told the consultant was, you tell me what's the best way if we intend to keep it separate. And
So you're gonna fix it and sell it, or what, or something?
right now, my task, my goal is to get an understanding of what it would cost to get this building especially really the second story, to get it in a way that we can use it. Because right now, because of its non-compliance with ADA, we're not, by law, we should not be utilizing that as a public space. So that's my goal. First, understand what it would cost to get it to be usable, and then the council will decide what they want to do with it. I haven't heard anything about selling it. I think they want to use it for some city function. What that is, I don't know. Not yet.
Any other comments on the visitation draft report?
Did a good job.
Yeah, these are great notes too. These notes, these are the kind of things you look for. They seem small, but these are all really good notes. So thank you.
Want me to take a motion to approve the draft with minor edits?
Sure. Make a motion to approve the draft.
Thank you.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
I,
Thank you.
Good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah, well, of course,
You'll be in that
Thank you.
meeting, but you won't be on that item.
Uh,
That'll be all Tomas.
Tomas.
yeah,
Kidding. I'll be making that presentation.
All right, 2025, the SSC accomplishments and discuss report to city council. I didn't see one.
right. So this is the reason it wasn't in the package because it's very, very rough. I just wanted to give that consensus of the accomplishments we feel we've accomplished in this past year. So we can and then I can quickly read through them. This is all from the work plan that was in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So just very quickly, finalized potential one-way streets, Mariposa and Monterey. We did that. We had the library meeting. It was a resounding no, and then we moved forward, and we're constantly aware of that. We also are currently addressing Visitation Avenue because this was added last minute to our work plan, and I just provide a little bit of context. Of course, this is far from this is a reference of all the documents right now, but we do have a bit of time to prepare it. So just give them the context of the timeline so they understand every step what we did, so they don't think that we somehow just forgot about this idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'll definitely add more detail here, but receiving comment on the Baylands for the station circulation plans or other proposals referred by the Public Works or City Manager. Maybe I'll highlight some of the comments and just maybe have something that we can actually look at instead of just saying the comments.
Where's that document?
He'll share that with us.
Yeah. A long time ago, it was sent to me, and I sent it along to the planning. But
I would add in there comments on the EIR and comments on the specific plan, because we did both, and the dates that we did those. I think dates will be really important to add in here, like we had our meeting at the library with the Mariposa Monterey Street residents on this date, and we had the meeting at the library regarding visitation on this date.
Yeah. As much specific as possible so they can get the picture, the full picture. And then
That's the lawyer street.
yeah.
Sorry.
And then review back on the pilot parking program. We did that and actually had to remind myself because we were doing it. The program ended last, I want to say June or May, and then we actually had a survey to see how residents felt about it. And then at July, it was the final discussion where they said, okay, the data says that people do not support this. Let's terminate it. And again, all these could have more detail with specific dates and meetings and presentations and all that. And then the last one, this wasn't part of the work plan, but we didn't actually talk about it at our liaison meeting, is that you guys, did a lot of the outreach and communication and coordination of the Halloween street closure. So I just wanted to outline that one as well.
Right. Right. I would
Very well received.
Yeah, hopefully it'll become an annual thing without having to ask for it. I would also say that there was Jeremy and I attended a resident meeting August. I mean, there are other things that I would add. I would also add the grants that we, had signed letters in support of.
Yeah, let's beef this up a little bit. So and then the idea on this one was that the committee would actually present this. This is something that came out of the liaison committee meeting. That one of our committee members. So Emily, are you available for this meeting?
I'm not here in April.
Okay.
Remember, I am gone. I will be in Italy. See you later. I'm not checking in at 4 in.
So, Vice Chair, would you like to present to the council?
the date is
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
It would be the day after our next April, Complete Streets.
Okay, you're gonna have to help me with the presentation.
Yeah, we're happy to help you with preparing the PowerPoint, and that was something. I mean, I would have been fine presenting the item, But as you heard, our
I
mayor,
vaguely
they
remember that,
really,
Emily, but I'm just gonna call it.
they really
city
wanted you
manager.
guys
It was
to
like
do the
you guys
presentation.
invite
Okay.
public meeting.
Safe Street.
So yeah,
meeting.
I'm happy to support you in any way. We'll support you with the PowerPoint presentation, refinement of the staff report. So what we'll do is we'll share this draft offline with Emily and Paul to get your feedback, and then Paul, you'll be doing the presentation, so we'll work with you on PowerPoint.
Okay,
Sorry, not him.
that's fine.
Yeah, so that was one of the big points. Okay, so we figured that out. And the other one was Moz. I guess I hadn't asked you ahead of time either, but in the past these have been combined. There was a work plan and accomplishments. I just want to make sure that we feel that's the best way forward. I thought 3 staff reports from the Complete Street Safety Committee seemed like
I think it makes a lot of sense. Visitation is very much its own thing,
Mhm.
but I think for the accomplishments and the new work plan, yeah, that makes sense to do that.
Yeah, 3.
And we will have time to talk through it before the items do. It'll be published before our next Complete Street Safety Committee meeting. But if you guys want to set up a subcommittee of this group to meet in advance, we can do that, or we can work informally. Up to you guys.
You mean for the presentation?
Yeah, for the presentation
I
and
can work with
finalizing the
you.
report.
You have my number?
Yep.
You have my number? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have
Yeah, you give it.
it's on the application that people submit for next time.
Yeah.
And
I
then
work best on the phone, Miles,
we can brainstorm more. You guys can send me,
And
send
over
more
lunch.
thoughts out of it. 'Cause
and I like to
Can
treat.
not a computer. So.
Only if we can alternate. I'm happy to have lunch, but we have to be fair.
Okay, anything else? Anyone have any other questions or anything you can think of right now that you want to add to the accomplishments for 2025? Chris?
The only thing I'm wondering is if you submit the visitation plan as you have, as a single agenda item, will the city council be able to vote on 1 through 4 independently, or do they need to be distinct items within their agenda?
That's something I'll ask our city attorney.
If
Um,
they recently
want-
had to defer something.
Yeah, I want to make sure I understand. Yeah, I want to, because, and again, they're not, that's a good point. I'll make sure that we verify that. I think you can have one staff report and have multiple actions. So we may just structure it a little bit differently.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's, my intention was to do it in a way where it's combined in one report,
You guys
but actionable
Yeah.
independently.
Right.
For some sort.
Yeah.
We'll brainstorm some more, but we did discuss Old County with Chris extensively and how we can make some adjustments, additions. So and so that info was valuable for us. So yeah, I'll have that here. But yeah, just anything that comes to mind, just let me know and I'll add it here and obviously make it much more
Pedestrian
detailed than we have.
crossing signs at Monarch and North Hill
Right,
at
yeah,
the Crocker
Yeah.
Trail.
yeah, that works. We can kind of
Orange flags?
right. Maybe I'll have like a big item that's like a kind of infrastructure additions, and then we'll include all.
Hey, you'll be
Take
waiting.
my bath now.
Unfortunately, my contacts is from October on, so I know you guys did a lot of work before then, so. But yeah, we can take a closer look and see and make sure we capture everything. 'Cause you guys did a lot.
Okay, anything else? And if not, staff updates.
Yeah, there's quite a few. You guys might have. The Clement Street pavement maintenance is going to start a week from next Monday, so that's Monday the 23rd. You guys all read the blast, I think, so you guys probably already know that.
Mm-hmm.
Between visitation and Alvarado,
The step between the Division and San Bruno.
San Bruno.
Yeah. And then anything noteworthy there? No, it's pretty straightforward project. I think we feel like it'll be
Pretty short time frame. I
Right,
think
yeah.
within that first week, they'll do the grinding work and do all the ancillary work and do the pavement work in one shot, and then following week come back and do striping.
And they'll do the crosswalks, right?
yes, and they're doing the crosswalk on San Bruno and Clement.
They'll be repainted.
Yeah.
They'll be repainted. We talked about whether we go with the ladder crosswalk or the standard. I think we're sticking with the standard right now. And then we will come back and when we do all of the segments, we'll do all of them into ladder. Because right now it would only be one leg. We'll see if we can squeeze it.
And
The
then
kids' path right there.
right, that was the
on the San Bruno side anyway.
So we can talk more about it.
Okay.
And then the only change to the striping on Klamath is the speed bumps that are there. I
Oh, yeah.
don't think they have anything, but they'll have chevrons now, little diagonal arrows, be more visible for drivers. So
But
that's the
the
only
bumps will still be there.
bumps will still be there.
Yeah.
They'll just have some striping on top of it.
Where that's the only change as far as striping
Yeah.
is proposed within that area.
The Monterey Street pavement maintenance project, we are at 60% design, plan spec and estimate. We just met with the consultant, passed out some details with Miles, myself, and Greg, our inspector. He had a field visit the day earlier in that day, and so that's progressing along. We're still on track to get that finished by May and constructed in the summer. So. And the stairway, I don't know if you guys have been out there yet. It's pretty much done.
Ready?
I don't want to. Is it? Greg said it was essentially going to be accessible by.
Yeah, there's
By the
there's
end of
some
this week, I think.
artwork that's still
Right.
outstanding as part of the original plans. I think some sort of there's a tree sculpture
Right. Yeah. There's something going at the
at
bottom.
the base.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, but as far as functionality and the staircase itself,
It's
after today they finish the tiles, and I think tomorrow they're coming out to do the final grout, and then it's ready for a ribbon cutting pretty soon. I think they're gonna want to wait for that last art sculpture to come in, but it'll be open. I mean, it's been functional. I think people have been using it already. So
And then one more for me. I think only Christian was around when this was fresh, but if you recall the complete street safety assessment that UC Berkeley did, the Safe Check program, they did it on Bayshore Boulevard in years past. For obvious reasons, it's one of our highest, most dangerous roads.
Yeah.
But we are applying for that again this coming year to focus on central Brisbane, specifically visitation in San Bruno. Of course, the reason we chose those streets is because how it ties into this project and general concerns around the city and with our work plan. So we're going to submit that application this week, and they essentially will do a complete streets, like the title says, like a complete street safety assessment of our priority locations.
what do we do?
I think you should probably add that to the accomplishment of 2025, where what they did on the studies of Bayshore. I mean, for the most part was staff and you communicating with them, but you presented and we did our comments.
The ones but you mean the old one though?
Yeah,
Was that 2025?
No, that was a while ago. Yeah.
that was not 2025.
No, that was been a couple of years now.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's free of charge. So of course we take advantage of that opportunity. It's
yeah, we saw that as an opportunity, knowing, I mean, even though we haven't adopted the 2026, we don't foresee any major changes from council. But we just saw that as an opportunity to just address some of the priorities on your work plan.
What does that require? Any engagement from us? Does that?
It'll be a process to work with UC Berkeley and their students, and we'll have meetings, we'll do site walks, so it'll be additional technical support.
Yeah, I envision a scenario where it's kind of like when the developers came in and gave a big presentation and took feedback from you guys, something similar like that. I think.
Yeah, they'll be engaged with this group. We'll have site visits, walking audits, things of that nature.
Kind of like the
Similar, but in a broader, different scope. Yeah.
So in the past we had Darius. He was attending a lot of the activities that were going on in Sierra, and we also were somehow tracking shuttles. Is that something that we want to keep doing, or
Tracking shuttles? I'm not.
like transportation?
I'll have to refresh my memory. I can't really. Doesn't really ring a bell. But we can talk
We're
about it.
talking about the internal shuttles we have in
Yeah.
town.
To go here to the Sierra
commute.org stuff.
and the different bases.
No, the SharePoint shuttle.
We put a lot of changes.
It
to
goes
the
to
project.
Yeah, we were somewhat tracking those. I think Pat was sort of managing that, and then the Sierra Point. There's a lot of activities going on over there. I'm just thinking if there's something that we want to keep being looped in, or just being hands off.
Sure.
Just a question to you guys.
Okay, but not related to this study though. Not related to the complete street safety assessment, right?
It's not.
The,
No, I mean, we looked at it before.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And we were sort of in the loop. So I'm saying, do we continue doing that or not?
I'll have to refresh my memory. I can't see too much.
Well, it's a good question. We don't have, we're not big enough to have a transportation department. So
We're looking
where,
at the Transportation Department.
where, where do those concerns such as the shuttles or even concerns around 292, haven't we talked about the bus stops?
Yeah.
That was something that we at least discussed in 2025.
We did.
You know, in what ways can we support public transit at the level of the city? Because our bus stops are, for the most part, in terrible shape.
Yeah,
And we were talking earlier today, accessibility of the Caltrain station safely
right, right.
is another. But yeah, where does that land in city government?
I mean, in my opinion, I think we should. I don't know where you guys feel about it.
I don't know anything about it, so you just have to tell me more about what you're looking for and what we're looking to
So,
study.
so
And
Brisbane has different shuttle stops. Some of them are funded by the different businesses here, and some of them are public. And we used to be in the loop, like what we're doing, the sketch and stuff like that before. And also Sierra, the development by the marina, we're doing a lot of activities, and
Yeah.
there is we go there and
Got it. Okay.
get some sort of
I have
updates if
some-
there was any impact.
So it gives me some context. So I can share a little bit on that as far as what I know. So there's a couple of things that's happening. The reason probably why they haven't been doing a lot more outreach and events is because the shuttle program is suffering financially hard. The San Mateo County Transit Authority and Samtrans have kind of started having conversations with. There's been a couple of different things. They are proposing to do a bill SB 63 that would be a tax measure on the ballot to support shuttles in San Mateo County. That's something that they're going to be coming to council.
And a lot more.
And a lot more. And a lot more. That's one of them. There's a lot of transit related issues that they're going to try to capture with that. There's actually going to be a council meeting, and I will share that with this group in advance. But the TA is going to come to council and do an update on that. There's also been a discussion internally for the next couple of years on how the TA can deal with their budget deficit with respect to the existing shuttles. And staff has been involved. Tomas and myself went to a workshop at the TA office about a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it was really high level conversation as far as different agencies and where we feel like there's opportunities to support the program, areas to maybe do some savings in the short term. I mean, for Brisbane, it was interesting, even though we're so small because we're this transit hub, our ridership is much higher than other areas, but it doesn't mean that we want to lose shuttles in areas that are serving underserved people. So it's a balance. So we just had that initial conversation. Probably why we haven't had a lot of conversations about route tweaks and things like that. Post-pandemic, ridership has dropped. It has not gone back to levels pre-pandemic levels. So, but although operational costs, vehicle equipment, personnel costs, that has continued to increase. So.
go ahead, Chris.
Is that Patrick Gilstrap going to be coming to the city council?
I don't know if I think it's Patrick, but I don't know who it's going to be.
Because the last time he came, he actually came to Complete Streets first
Yes.
and made a presentation.
So that was something I was thinking about as you were talking, something to add to our accomplishments. We had presentations from TA, we had presentations from the Baylands, we had presentations from MSP.
Yeah.
Made
I don't
comments
know,
on
but
that.
that one is higher. The one for SB 63.
Right, you don't know.
I don't know if this is more of a financial plug, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
So I think they're going to focus on doing the city council for that one.
Okay, good. And that is where focus is necessary.
Yeah. So as far as the commute.org I don't know, committee that we have, I forgot what it's called. There's a supervisory committee. So Randy used to be the liaison to that.
And you are now.
I am now. So I've been to one meeting so far. I think he once a quarter, and the conversation was very similar. As far as the shuttle program, the only thing that was new was they're trying to promote workplace shuttles. And so there's a program where they are helping nonprofits that serve underserved communities to help promote the different options that people have to sign up for different shuttle programs,
Mhm.
whether it's a workplace shuttle or a commuter shuttle or the loop shuttle system.
Mhm.
So that was one thing that came up. I'm happy to report in the for future meetings. What I'll do is I'll make sure to include that in staff updates when we do our complete streets to keep you guys in the loop.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the details, but I don't know that this committee is aware of the consolidation of the two shuttles into a single shuttle that took place in July of last year.
On commute.org.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which was an effective reduction of service. If you're going to BART, you have to first go to Caltrain and then to BART. And if you're going on the reverse, it's the same thing. If you're coming in from BART, you first have to go to Caltrain before you can come into town. So it adds, and they're using, you know how you're getting onto 101 North from Bayshore and then connecting on to 280. That's a part of their route, which we all know how that stretch suffers from rush hour traffic.
I thought that was like the best case scenario that they came up with, like the best way to have the least impact on ridership is why they made that route.
That was so that they would no longer have to have two shuttles. one
I
going
understand, but
to
but the configuration of that route, but there was another configuration that they could have done as well. I was just saying that, I mean, it didn't eliminate,
It is a reduction in service
it's a reduction of fares, yeah.
overall.
Mhm.
But the other one piece of good news that took place, very few people know, Frank, I mentioned to Frank Kern that those shuttles, when they went to the Caltrain station, they were double parked because there was no place to park. Frank Kern went to the city of San Francisco, which technically it's in there. There's a shuttle stop there.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
All right.
That's all for me.
And no,
Okay, right?
any other committee member matters you want to add and agendize to our future meeting? No?
We'll be picking a new chair at the next meeting
We'll be voting on a new chair at the next
and
meeting.
vice chair.
Okay, chair.
But you won't be there.
I will not be there either.
Seems like,
So-
seems like
Vote
it was,
me in and I'm
Are
not
you-
there.
are
I
you
guess
gonna
that's
be-
fair.
Calling in to
Nope.
vote, not even voting.
I'm not here.
Yeah, don't, Emily, don't.
So,
Relax.
so I'm curious, I can't vote for myself. And we only have three of us are gonna be here, Ray, and so you can't have two people voting.
you can vote for yourself.
You can vote.
Well, I'm saying
Yeah.
you gotta have three people to vote, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, if Raymond is not available,
Yeah,
And the meeting gets
then the
canceled.
meeting gets canceled.
Right.
Or we just have an informational session
okay,
and we don't vote on anything. That's the
okay,
other option. Yeah, no, if we don't have a quorum, we won't have any of the voting.
I got you. I was just,
But
You're just trying to make your call in, yeah.
yeah,
typically,
I might need you.
so typically the vice becomes the chair, and then whoever person have not served, then becomes the.
Right.
I got you. I got it.
So
So it's very likely to be you and Ray.
It's gonna be the
Yeah.
chair, and then Raymond's gonna be the vice chair.
Got you.
And we do have vacancies, so we're working with Ingrid to see if we can get some seats filled.
Is there interest?
We haven't, unfortunately, we haven't yet, and they've tried. I think if this committee knows anybody that's interested, you know, I'm gonna suggest that you reach out.
Chris always says no. I did talk to my neighbor. He said he was gonna reach out to Ingrid, but
Okay.
I don't know if he did.
So yeah, it's open-ended. It would be nice to have, as you can see, there's a lot of work and it would be nice to have a larger representation of our community. So we're gonna keep trying to see if we can get more folks to join.
I did have a comment. I'm not a big talker.
You're a
but-
huge shocker.
Are you guys working, on getting interns to work with engineering?
Yeah, there's the city's doing looking at interns citywide for all the different departments, and I definitely raised my hand and said we were interested.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
So if you have anybody that's interested for an internship, send them my way and I'll connect them with HR.
All right, then on that, We're adjourned until the next meeting, which is that April 1st? Is that the right?
It's April 2nd. Or complete street, sorry, I was thinking of the city council. Yeah, our next meeting is April 1st.
Okay.
And,
Are you sure?
yeah.
Are you?